More than 2,500 years ago, the Bible mentioned a nation that exists today in the exact same location as modern-day Iran. And the prophecy about it is both mysterious and fascinating. But here is the question. Do you know the ancient identity of Iran in the Bible? And what exactly did the Bible predict about that ancient nation that today represents modern Iran? In this video, we are going to explore two things. First, the ancient identity of Iran in the Bible. And second, a prophecy recorded by the prophet Jeremiah concerning that nation. So let's begin with the first question. What nation in the Bible is connected to the land we now call Iran? The country we know today as Iran was once known in the ancient world as Persia. But before the Persian Empire rose to power, there was another civilization in that same region, a kingdom called Elam. Elam existed in the southwestern part of modern-day Iran, and its capital city was Susa. This civilization appears multiple times in the Bible. So when the prophet Jeremiah spoke about Elam, he was speaking about a nation located in the same territory that today belongs to Iran. And in Jeremiah chapter 49, God delivered a prophecy about that nation. Now that we understand the ancient identity of Iran and its connection to Elam, we can move to the second part of our discussion, the prophecy itself. This prophecy is recorded in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verses 34 to 39. But before we try to interpret anything, it is important that we first read the prophecy exactly as it appears in the Bible. Then, we will examine the key details that appear in the text, details that reveal how everything happening in Iran today is reflected as signs in these ancient scriptures. And here is what the text says. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning Elam, at the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah. This is what the Lord of hosts says. I will break the bow of Elam, the main source of their strength. I will bring upon Elam the four winds from the four corners of heaven, and I will scatter them toward all those winds. There will be no nation where the outcasts of Elam will not go. I will cause Elam to be terrified before their enemies and before those who seek their life. I will bring disaster upon them, my fierce anger, declares the Lord. I will send the sword after them until I have destroyed them. Then I will set my throne in Elam and destroy their king and officials, declares the Lord. But in the latter days I will restore the fortunes of Elam, declares the Lord. When we examine this prophecy carefully, we can identify 5 key details that help us understand what the prophecy is describing. Let us examine them one by one. Detail number 1. The bow of Elam. The prophecy says, I will break the bow of Elam, the main source of their strength. In the ancient world, the bow was one of the most important weapons of war. Armies depended heavily on archers in battle, and the bow often symbolized the military power of a nation. So when the prophecy says the bow of Elam will be broken, it describes the collapse of the nation's military power. Detail number 2. The four winds. The prophecy continues by saying, I will bring upon Elam the four winds from the four corners of heaven. This expression creates a powerful image. In biblical language, the four winds represent forces coming from every direction. In the context of this prophecy, it describes a situation where pressure does not come from just one enemy, but from multiple nations at the same time. Nations surrounding Elam and bringing conflict against it from different sides. And as we already see today, there are reports of nations aligning against Iran, including the United States, Israel, and pressure coming from neighboring regions. This creates a situation that closely resembles the image described in the prophecy. Pressure forming around the nation from multiple sides. Detail number 3. The fall of leadership and the scattering of the people. The prophecy also says that the people of Elam will be scattered and that their enemies will pursue them with the sword. This describes a massive diaspora, the population fleeing in fear and chaos, forced to leave their homes as pressure comes from all sides. It paints the picture of a people driven into exile, with large numbers displaced. Later in the passage, God says that He will destroy their king and their princes. This signals the collapse of the nation's leadership. In today's context, this aligns with reports that Ayatollah Khamenei has been killed and that multiple top leaders and commanders have fallen alongside him. Detail number 4. God's throne in Elam. One of the most striking statements in the prophecy is this: I will set my throne in Elam. In the language of the Bible, when God sets His throne somewhere, it represents His authority and judgment being established over that place. Practically, this means that God's power will be visibly demonstrated in the nation. It will not just be about authority or control, it will be reflected in a spiritual transformation. The country could experience a powerful spiritual shift, where many Iranians begin turning to God in growing numbers. Such a movement would represent a significant increase in faith compared to what exists today. In that sense, God setting His throne in Elam can be understood as the expansion of His authority and the flourishing of believers within the land. Detail number 5. The restoration of Elam. Finally, the prophecy ends with a surprising statement. God says, "But in the latter days I will restore the fortunes of Elam." This means the prophecy does not end with destruction. After judgment, there is also a promise of restoration. So within these few verses, the prophecy outlines a sequence: the breaking of power, pressure from many directions, the fall of leadership, the establishment of God's authority, and finally, the restoration of Elam in the latter days. These words were written more than 2,500 years ago. Today, the land once called Elam is part of the country we know as Iran, and that raises a powerful question. Could ancient prophecy still have something to say about the modern world? What makes this even more striking is that many of the events described in this prophecy appear to be beginning to unfold already. What do you think about this prophecy? Do you believe these ancient words still matter today? Write your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy biblical insights like this, subscribe for more. Love you all. See you again.